The giraffe and the pelly and me. Not far from where I live, there is a queer old empty wooden house standing all by itself on the side of the road. I long to explore inside it, but the door is always locked, and when I peer through a window, all I can see is darkness and dust. I know the ground floor used once to be a shop because I can still read the faded lettering across the front which says the grubber. My mother has told me that in our part of the country in the olden days a grubber was another name for a sweet shop. And now every time I look at it, I think to myself what a lovely old sweet shop it must have been. On the shop window itself somebody has painted in the white word for sale. One morning I noticed that for sale has been scraped off the shop window and in its place somebody had painted sold. I stood there staring at the new writing and wishing like mad that it had been me. Who had bought it because then I would have been able to make it into a grubber all over again. I have always longed and longed to own a sweatshop. The sweatshop of my dreams would be loaded from top to bottom. The sherbet suckers and the caramel fudge and Russian toffee and sugar snorters and butter gumballs and thousands of other glorious things like that. Oh boy, what I couldn't have done with that old grubber shop if it had been mine. On my next visit to the grubber, I was standing across the road gazing at the wonderful old building. Then suddenly an enormous bathtub came sailing out through one of the second floor windows and crashed right on the middle of the road. A few moments later, a white porcelain lavatory pen with a wooden seat still on it came flying out of the same window and landed with a wonderful splintering crash just beside the bathtub. This was followed by a kitchen sink and an empty canary cage and a four-poster bed and two hot water bottles and a rocking horse and a sewing machine and goodness knows what else besides. It looked as though some madman had ripped out the whole of the inside of the house, because now pieces of staircase and bits of the banisters and a whole lot of old floorboards came whistling through the windows. Then there was silence. I waited and waited, but another sound came from within the building. I crossed the road and stood right under the windows and called out, "Is anybody at home?" There was no answer. In the end, it began to get dark, so I had to turn away and start walking home. But you can bet your life nothing was going to stop me from hurrying back there again tomorrow morning to see what the next surprise was going to be. When I got back to the grubber house the next morning, the first thing I noticed was the new door. The dirty old brown door had been taken out, and in its place someone had fitted the brand new red one. The new door was fantastic. It was twice as high as the other one had been, and it looked ridiculous. I couldn't begin to imagine who would want a tremendous tall door like that in his house unless it was a giant. As well as this, somebody has scraped away and the sole notice on the shop window, and now there was a whole lot of different writing all over the glass. I stood there reading it and trying to figure out what on earth it all meant. I tried to catch some sign or sound of movement inside the house, but there was none, until all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I noticed that one of the windows on the top floor was slowly beginning to open outwards. Then a head appeared at the open window. I stared at the head. The head stared back at me with big, round, dark eyes. Suddenly, a second window was flung wide open, and of all the crazy things, a gigantic white bird hopped out and perched on the windowsill. I knew what this one is because of its amazing beak, which was shaped like a huge orange-colored basin. The pelican looked down at me and sang out, "Oh, how I wish for a big fat fish. I'm as hungry as ever could be. A dish of fish is my only wish. How far are we from the sea?" "We are a long way from the sea," I called to back him. But there was a fishmonger in the village not far away. "A fish what?" "A fishmonger." "Now what on earth would that be?" asked the pelican. "I have heard of a fish pie and a fish cake and a fish finger, but I have never heard of a fishmonger. Are these mongers good to eat?" This question baffled me a bit, so I said, "Who is your friend in the next window?" "She is Giraffe," the pelican answered. "Is she not wonderful? Her legs are the ground floor and her head is looking out of the top window." As if all this wasn't enough, the window on the first floor was now flung wide open and out popped the monkey. The monkey stood on the windowsill and did a jiggly little dance. He was so skinny he seemed to be made only of furry bits of wire, but he danced wonderfully well, and I clapped and cheered and did a little dance myself in return. "We are the window cleaners," sang out the monkey. "We will polish your glass till it's shining little brass, and it sparkles like sun on the sea. We are quick and polite. We will come day or night, the giraffe and the pelly and me. We are a fabulous crew. We know just what to do, and we never stop work to drink tea. All your windows will glow when we give them a go, the giraffe and the pelly and me. We use water and soap, plus some kindness and hope. But we never use ladders, well, not we. Who needs ladders at all when you are 30 feet tall? Not Giraffe, and not Pelly, not me." I stood there in terror. Then I heard a giraffe saying to the pelican in the next window, "Pelly, my dear, be so good as to fly down and bring the small person up here to talk to us." At once, the pelican spread his huge white wings and flew down onto the road beside me. "Hoping," he said, opening his enormous beak. I stared at the great orange beak and backed away. "Go on," the monkey shouted from up in his window. "The pelly isn't going to swallow you. Climb in." I said to the pelican, "I'll only get in if you promise not to shut your beak once I'm inside." "You have nothing to fear," cried the pelican. "And let me tell you why. I have a very special beak. A special beak have I. You'll never see a beak so fine. I don't care where you go. There's a magic this beak of mine. Hop in and don't say no." I will not hop in, I said, unless you swear on your honor you won't shut it once I'm inside. I don't like small dark places. When I have done what I am just about to do, said the pelican, I won't be able to shut it. You don't seem to understand how my beak works. Show me, I said. Watch this, cried the pelican. I watched in amazement as the top half of the pelican's beak began to slide smoothly backwards into his face head until the whole thing was almost out of sight. It bends and goes down inside the back of my neck, cried the pelican. Is that not sensible? Is it not magical? It's unbelievable, I said. It's exactly like one of those metal tape measures my father's got at home. When it's out, it's straight. When you slide it back in, it bends like it disappears. Presently, said the pelican. You see, the top half is of no use to me unless I'm chewing fish. The bottom half is what counts. My lad, the bottom half is my glorious beak of mine is the bucket in which we carry our window cleaning water. So if I didn't slide in the top half away, I'd be standing around all day long holding it up, and so I slid it away for the rest of the day. Even so, I'm still able to speak, and wherever you've flown, it has always been known as the pelican's patented beak. If I want to eat fish, that's my favorite dish. All I do is I give a twig. In the blink of an eye, out it pops, and they cry. It's the pelican's patented beak. Stop showing off down there, shouted the monkey from the upstairs window. Hurry up and bring the small person up to us. The giraffe is waiting. I climbed into the big orange beak, and with a switch of wings, the pelican carried me back to his perch on the windowsill. The giraffe looked out of her window at me and said, "How do you do? What is your name?" "Billy," I told her. "Well, Billy," she said, we need your help and we need it fast. We must have some windows to clean. We've spent every penny we had on buying this house and we've got to earn some more money quickly. The pelly is starving, the monkey is famished, and I am perishing with hunger. The pelly needs fish, the monkey needs nuts, and I am even more difficult to feed. I am a journey's giraffe, and a journey's giraffe cannot eat anything except the pink and purple flowers of the tinkle tree. But those, as I'm sure you know, are hard to find and expensive to buy. The pelican cried out. Right now I'm so hungry I could eat a stale sardine. Has anyone seen a stale sardine or a bucket of rotten cod? I'd eat the lot up in the spot. I'm such a hungry boat. Every time the pelican spoke, the big eye was standing and jiggled madly up and down. And the more excited he got, the more it jiggled. The monkey said, "What Pell is really crazy about is salmon." "Yes, yes," cried the pelican, "salmon, oh, glorious salmon. I dream about it all day long, but I never get any." "And I dream about walnuts," shouted the monkey. "A walnut fresh from the tree is scrumptious and glumpous. Oh, flavory savory. Oh, so sweet to eat that it makes me all wobbly just thinking about it." At exactly that moment, a huge white Rolls-Royce pulled up right below us, and a chauffeur in the blue and gold uniform got out. He was carrying an envelope in the gloved hand. "Good heavens," I whispered. "That is the Duke of Hampshire's car." "Who's he?" asked the giraffe. "He is the richest man in England," I said. The chauffeur knocked on the door on the grubber. He looked and saw us. He saw the giraffe, the pelly, the monkey, and me all staring down at him from above. But not a muscle moved in his face. Not an eyebrow was raised. The chauffeurs of very rich men are never surprised by anything they see. The chauffeur said, "His Grace the Duke of Hampshire has instructed me to deliver this envelope to the latter's window cleaning company." "That's us," cried the monkey. The giraffe said, "Be so good as to open the envelope and read us the letter." The chauffeur unfolded the letter and began to read. "Dear sirs, I saw you notice as I drove by this morning. I have been looking for a decent window cleaner for the last 50 years, but I have not found one yet. My house has 677 windows in it, not counting the greenhouse, and all of them are filthy. Kindly come and see me as soon as possible. Yours truly, Hampshire." "That," added the chauffeur in a voice filled with awe and respect, "was written by His Grace the Duke of Hampshire in his own hand." The giraffe said to the chauffeur, "Please tell His Grace the Duke that we will be him as soon as possible." The chauffeur touched his cap and got back into the Rolls-Royce. "Whoopee!" shouted the monkey. "Fantastic!" cried the pelican. "That must be the best window cleaning job in the world." "Billy," said the giraffe, "what is the house called and how do we get there?" "It is called Hampshire House." Hampshire House, I said. "It's just over the hill. I'll show you the way." We're off," cried the monkey. "We're off to see the Duke." The giraffe stooped low and went through the tall door. The monkey jumped off a windowsill on the giraffe's back. The pelican, with me in his beak hanging out for dear life, flew across and perched on the very top of the giraffe's head, and away we went. It wasn't long before we come to the gates of Hampshire House, and as the giraffe moved slowly up the great wide driveway, we all began to feel just a little bit nervous. "What's he like, this Duke?" the giraffe asked me. "I don't know," I said, "but he's very, very famous and very rich. People say he has 25 gardeners just to look after his flower beds." Soon the huge house itself came into view, and what a house it was! It was like a palace. It was bigger than a palace. "Just look at those windows," cried a monkey. "They'll keep us going forever." Then suddenly we heard a man's voice a short distance away to the right. "I want those big black ones at the top of the tree," the man was shouting. "Get me those great big black ones." We peered round the bushes and saw the oldish man and an immense white mustache standing under a tall cherry tree and pointing his walking stick in the air. There was a ladder against the tree. Another man, who was probably a gardener, was up the ladder. "Gammy, those great big black juicy ones right at the top, very top," the old man was shouting. "I can reach them, your grace," the gardener called back. "The ladder isn't long enough." "Damnation!" shouted the Duke. He was so looking forward to eating those big ones. "Here we go," the pelican whispered to me, and with a swish and a swoop he carried me up to the very top of the cherry tree. There he perched. "Pick them, Billy," he whispered. "Pick them quickly and put them in my bag." The gardener got such a shock he fell off the ladder. Down below us, the Duke was shouting, "My gun! Get my gun! Some damnable monster of a bird is stealing my best cherries. Be off with you, sir. Go away. Those are my cherries, not yours. I'll have you shot for this, sir. Where's my gun?" "Hurry, Billy," whispered the pelican. "Hurry, hurry, hurry." "My gun," the Duke was shouting to the gardener. "Get my gun, you idiot. I have that thieving bird for breakfast. You see if I don't." "I picked them all," I whispered to the pelican. At once the pelly flew down and landed right beside the fairest figure of the Duke of Hampshire, who was prancing about and waving his stick in the air. "Your cherries, your grace," I said as I leaned over the edge of the pelican's beak and offered a handful to the Duke. The Duke was staggered. He reeled back, his eyes popped nearly out their sockets. "Great Scott," he gasped. "Good Lord, what's this? Who are you?" And now the giraffe, with a monkey dancing about on her back, emerged suddenly from the bushes. The Duke stared at them. He looked as though he was about to have a fit. "Who are these creatures?" he bellowed. "Has the whole world gone completely dotty?" "We are the window cleaners," sang out the monkey. "We will polish your glass till it's shining like brass, and it sparkles like the sun on the sea. We will work for your grace till we're blue in the face, the giraffe and the pelly and me." "You asked us to come to see you," the giraffe said. The truth was at last beginning to dawn on the Duke. He put a cherry into his mouth and chewed it slowly. Then he spat out the stone. "I like the way you pick these cherries for me," he said. "Could you also pick my apples in the autumn?" We could. Of course we could," we all shouted. "And who are you?" the Duke said, pointing his stick at me. "He's our business manager," the giraffe said. "His name is Billy. We go nowhere without him." Very well, the Duke muttered. "Come along with me and let's see if you're any good at cleaning windows." They climbed out of the pelican's beak, and the kindly old Duke took me by the hands as we all walked towards the house. When we got there, the Duke said, "What happens next?" "It is all very simple, your grace," the giraffe replied. "I am the ladder, the pelly is the bucket, and the monkey is the cleaner. Watch us go." With that, a famous window cleaning gang sprang into action. The monkey jumped down from the giraffe's back and turned on the garden tap. The pelican held his great beak under the tap until it was full of water. Then, with a wonderful springly leap, the monkey leaped at once again on the giraffe's back. From there he scrambled as easily as if we were climbing a tree, up the long neck of the giraffe until it stood balancing on the very top of her head. The pelican remained standing on the ground beside us, looking up at the giraffe. "We'll do the top floor first," the giraffe shouted down. "Bring the water up, please." The dude called out, "Don't worry about two top floors. You can't reach them anyway." "Who says we can't reach them?" the giraffe called back. "I do," the dude said firmly, "and I'm not having any of you risking your silly necks around here. If you wish to be friends with a giraffe, never say anything bad about its neck. Its neck is its product's possession." "What's wrong with my neck?" snapped the giraffe. "Don't argue with me, you foolish creature," cried the dude. "If you can't reach it, you can't reach it, and that's the end of it. Now get on with all your work." "Your Grace," the giraffe said, giving a duke a small superior smile. "There are no windows in the world I cannot reach with this magical neck of mine." The monkey, who was dancing about most dangerously on the top of the giraffe's head, cried out, "Show him, Giraffe! Go on and show him what you can do with your magical neck." The next moment, the giraffe's neck, which heaven knows was long enough already, began to grow long and longer, then longer and longer, and higher and higher and higher, until at last the giraffe's head with the monkey on the top of it was level with the windows of the top floor. The giraffe looked down from her great height and said to the duke, "How's that?" The duke was speechless. So was I. It was the most magical thing I had ever seen, more magical even than the pelican's patented beak. Up above us, the giraffe was beginning to sing a little song, but she sang so softly I could hardly catch the words. I think it went something like this: "My neck can stretch terribly high, much higher than eagles can fly. If I ventured to show just how high it would go, you'd lose sight of my head in the sky." The pelican, with his huge beak full of water, flew and perched on one of the top floor windowsills near the monkey, and now the great window cleaning business really began. The speed with which the team worked was astonishing. As soon as one window was done, the giraffe moved the monkey over to the next, and the pelican followed. When all the fourth floor windows on the side of the house were finished, the giraffe simply drew in her magical net until the monkey was level with the third floor windows, and off they went again. "Amazing!" cried the duke. "Astonishing, remarkable, incredible! I haven't seen out of any of my windows for 40 years. Now I shall be able to sit indoors and enjoy the view." Suddenly I saw all three of the window cleaners stop dead in their tracks. They seemed to freeze against the wall of the house. None of them moved. "What's happened to them?" the duke asked me. "What's gone wrong?" "I don't know," I answered. Then the giraffe, with the monkey on her head, tiptoed very gingerly away from the house and came toward us. The pelican flew with them. The giraffe came up very close to the duke and whispered, "Your Grace, there is a man in one of the bedrooms on the third floor. He is opening all the drawers and taking things out. He's got a pistol." The Duke jumped about a feet in the air. "Which room?" he snapped. "Show me at once." "It's the one on the third floor where the windows is wide open," the giraffe whispered. "By Gad!" cried the Duke. "That's the Duchess's bedroom. She's after her jewels. Call the police, summon the army, bring up the cannon, charge with the light bright shades." But even as he spoke, the pelican was flying up into the air. As he flew, he turned himself upside down and tipped the window, cleaning water out of his beak. Then I saw the top half of the marvelous patented beak sliding out of his head, ready for action. "What's that crazy bird up to?" cried the Duke. "Wait and see," shouted the monkey. "Hold your breath, old man. Hold your nose, hold your horses, and watch the pelly go." Like a bullet, the pelican flew in through the open window, and 5 seconds later out it came again with his great orange beak firmly closed. He landed on a lion beside the Duke. A tremendous banging noise was coming from inside the pelican's beak. It sounded as though someone was using a sledgehammer against it from the inside. He's got him," cried the monkey. "Pelly's got the burglar in his beak." "Well done, sir," shouted the Duke, hopping about with excitement. Suddenly he pulled the handle of his walking stick upwards, and about a hollow inside of the stick itself he drew a long, thin, sharp, shining sword. "I'll run him through," he shouted, flourishing the sword like a fencer. "Open up, pelican, let me get at him. I'll run the bounder through before he knows what happened to him. I'll spike him like a pat of butter. I'll fed the geezers to my foxhounds." But the pelican did not open his beak. He kept it firmly closed and shook his head at the Duke. The giraffe shouted, "The burglar is armed with a pistol. Your Grace, if Pelly lets him out, now he'll shoot us all." "He can be armed with a machine gun for all I care," bellowed the Duke, his massive mustaches bristling like brushwood. "I'll handle the blighter. Open up, sir, open up." Suddenly there was an ear-splitting bang, and the pelican leaped 20 feet into the air. So did the Duke. "Watch out," the Duke shouted, taking 10 rapid paces backwards. "He's trying to shoot his way out." And pointing his sword at the pelican, he bellowed, "Keep that beak closer. Don't you dare let him out. He'll murder us all." "Shake him up, Pelly," cried the giraffe. "Rattle his bones. Teach him not to do it again." The pelican shook his head so fast from side to side that the beak became a blur, and the man inside must have felt he was being scrambled like eggs. "Well done, Pelly," cried the giraffe. "You're doing a great job. Keep on shaking him so he doesn't fire the pistol again." At this point, a lady with an enormous chest and flaming orange hair came flying out of the house screaming, "My jewels! Somebody stole my jewels! My diamond tiara, my diamond necklace, my diamond bracelets, my diamond earrings, my diamond rings. They've had the lot. My rooms have been ransacked." And then this massive female, who 55 years ago had been a world-famous opera singer, suddenly burst into a song. "My diamonds are over the ocean. My diamonds are over the sea. My diamonds were pinched from my bedroom. Oh, bring back my diamonds to me." We were so bowled over by the power of ladies' lungs that all of us, excepting the pelican, who had to keep his beak closed, joined in the chorus. Bring back, oh, bring back my diamonds to me. Bring back, oh, bring back my diamonds to me. Come yourself, Hendra, said the Duke. He pointed to the pelican and said, this clever bird, this brilliant burger-catching creature has saved the day. The bounders in the beak. The Duchess stared at the pelican. The pelican stared back at the Duchess and gave her a wink. If he's in there, cried the Duchess, why don't you let him out? Then you can run him through with that famous sword of yours. I want my diamonds. Open your beak, bird. No, no, shouted the Duke. He's got a pistol. He'll murder us all. Someone must have called the police because suddenly no less than 4 squid cars came racing towards us and their sirens screaming. Within seconds we were surrounded by 6 policemen, and the Duke was shouting to them, the villain you are after is inside the beak of that bird, sent by the collar him. And to the pelican he said, get ready to open up. Are you ready? Steady, go. Open her up. The pelican opened its gigantic beak and immediately the policeman pounced upon the burglar, who was crouching inside. They snatched his pistol away from him and dragged him out and put handcuffs on his wrists. Great Scott, shouted the chief of police, it's the cobra himself. The who, the what, everyone asked. Who's the cobra? The cobra is the cleverest and the most dangerous cat burglar in the world, said the chief of police. He must have climbed up the drain pipe. The cobra can climb up anything. My diamonds, screamed the Duchess. I want my diamonds. Where are my diamonds? Here they are, cried the chief of police, fishing great handfuls of jewelry from the burglar's pockets. The Duchess was so overcome with relief that she fell to the ground in a faint. When the police had taken away the fearsome burglar known as the cobra, and the fainting Duchess had been carried into the house by the servants, the old Duke stood on the lawn with the giraffe, the pelican, the monkey, and me. Look, cried the monkey, that rotten burglar's bullet had made a hole in poor Pelly's beak. That's done it, said the pelican. Now it won't any use for holding water when we clean the windows. Don't you worry about that, my dear Pelly, said the Duke, patting him on the beak. My chauffeur will soon put a patch over it the same way he mends the tires on the rolls. Right now we have far more important things to talk about than a little hole in the beak. We stood there waiting to see what the Duke was going to say next. Now listen to me, all of you, he said. Those diamonds were worth millions, millions and millions, and you have saved them. The monkey nodded, the giraffe smiled, the pelican blushed. No reward is too great for you, the Duke went on. I am therefore going to make you an offer which I hope will give you pleasure. I hereby invite the giraffe and the pelican and the monkey to live on my easel for the rest of their lives. I shall give you my best and largest hay barn as your private house, central heating, showers, a kitchen, and anything else you desire for your comfort will be installed. In return, you will keep my windows clean and pick my cherries and my apples. If the pelican is willing, perhaps he will also give me a ride in his beak now and again." "A pleasure, your grace," cried the pelican. "Would you like a ride now?" "Later," said the Duke. "I'll have one after tea." At this point, the giraffe gave a nervous little cough and looked up at the sky. "Is there a problem?" asked the Duke. "If there is, do please let me hear it." "I'd like to sound ungrateful and pushy," murmured the giraffe, "but we do have one very pressing problem. We are all absolutely famished. We haven't eaten for days." "My dear Giraffe," cried the Duke, "how very thoughtless of me! Food is no problem around here." "I'm afraid it is not quite as easy as all that," said the Giraffe. "You see, I myself happen to be—" "Don't tell me," cried the Duke. "I know it already. I am expert on the animals of Africa. The moment I saw you, I knew you were no ordinary giraffe. You are the Uranus variety, are you not?" "You were absolutely right, your grace," said the giraffe, "but the trouble with us is that we only eat—" "You don't have to tell me that either," cried the Duke. "I know perfectly well a Uranus giraffe can eat only a kind of food. Am I not right in thinking that the pink purple flowers on the tinkle tinkle tree are your only diet?" "Yes," sighed the giraffe, "and that's been my problem ever since I arrived on these shores." "That is no problem at all here in Hampshire House," said the Duke. "Look over there, my dear Giraffe, and you will see the only plantation of tinkle tinkle trees in the entire country." The giraffe looked. She gave a gasp of astonishment, and at first she was so overwhelmed she couldn't even speak. Great tears of joy began running down her cheeks. "Help yourself," said the Duke. "Eat all you want." "Oh, my saint souls!" gasped the giraffe. "Oh, my neck! I cannot believe what I'm seeing." The next moment she was galloping full speed across the yards and winning the excitement, and the last we saw of her, she was burying her head in a beautiful pink and purple flowers that blossomed on the tops of the trees all around her. As for the monkey, the Duke went on, "I think he also will be pleased with what I have to offer. All over my there are thousands of giant nut trees." "Nuts?" cried the monkey. "What kind of nuts?" "Walnuts, of course," said the Duke. "Walnuts!" screamed the monkey. "Not walnuts? You don't really mean walnuts?" "You are pulling my leg. You are joking. You can't be serious. I must have heard wrong." "There's a walnut tree right over there," the Duke said, pointing. The monkey took off like an arrow, and a few seconds later he was high up in the branches of the walnut tree, cracking the nuts and guzzling from what was inside. "That leaves only the pelly," said the Duke. "Yes," said the pelican nervously, "but I'm afraid that what I eat does not grow on trees. I only eat fish. Would it too be much trouble? I wonder if I were to ask you for a reasonably fresh piece of haddock or cod every day?" "Haddock or cod," shouted the Duke, spitting out the words as though they made a bad taste in his mouth. "Cast your eyes, my dear Pelly, over there to the south." The pelican looked across the vast rolling estate, and in the distance he saw a great river. "That is the river Ham," cried the Duke, "the finest salmon river in the whole of Europe." "Salmon!" screeched the pelican. Not salmon? You don't really mean salmon? It's full of salmon, the Duke said, and I own it. You can help yourself. Before he had finished speaking, the pelican was in the air. The Duke and I watched him as fast he flew full speed towards the river. We saw him circle over the water. Then we dived and disappeared. A few moments later, he was in the air again, and his gigantic salmon in his beak. I stood alone with the Duke on the lawn beside his great house. "Well, Billy," he said, "I'm glad they are all happy, but what about you, my lad? I'm wondering if you happen to have just one extra special little wish for all yourself. If you do, I'd love you to tell me about it." There was a sudden tingling in my toes. It felt as though something tremendous might be going to happen to me any moment. "Yes," I murmured nervously, "I do have one extra special little wish." "And what might that be?" said the Duke in a kindly voice. "There is a wooden old house near where I live," I said. "It's called the Grubber, and long ago it used to be a candy shop. I have wished and wished that one day somebody might come along and make it into a marvelous new sweet shop all over again." "Somebody?" cried the Duke. "What do you mean, somebody? You and I will do that. We'll do it together. We'll make it into the most wonderful sweet shop in the world, and you, my boy, will own it." Whenever the old Duke got excited, his enormous mustaches started to bristle and jump about. Right now they were jumping up and down so much it looked as though he had a squirrel in his face. "By gad, sir," he cried, waving his stick, "I shall buy the place today. Then we'll get to work and have the whole thing ready in no time. You just wait and see what sort of a sweet shop we are going to make out of this Grubber place for yours." It was amazing how quickly things began to happen after that. There was no problem about buying the house because it was owned by the giraffe and the pelly and the monkey, and they insisted on giving it to the Duke for nothing. Then builders and carpenters moved in and rebuilt the whole of the inside so that once again it had 3 floors. On all these floors they put together rows and rows of tall shelves, and there were ladders to climb up to the highest slaves and the baskets to carry what you bought. Then the sweets and chalks and toffees and fudges and nuggets began pouring in to fill the slaves. They came in aeroplane from every country in the world, the most wild and wondrous thing you could ever imagine. There was gum twizzlers and fin-winklers in China, 4-blowers and spitzlers from Africa, tummy ticklers and gobwangles from Fiji Island, and lip lickers and polished nuts from the land of the midnight sun. For 2 whole weeks the flood of boxes and snacks continued to arrive. I could no longer keep track of all the countries they came from, but you can bet your life that as I unpacked each new batch I sampled it carefully. I can never, especially the giant wang doodles from Australia, everyone with a huge rib and strawberry hidden inside its crispy chocolate crust, and the electric These cocklers that made every hair in your hand stand straight up on the end as soon as you pop one into your mouth. And and there were niche nobblers and gum glotters and blue bubblers and sharpest lovers and tongue rackers. And as well as all this, there was a whole lot of splendid stuff from the great Wonka factory itself. For example, the famous Willy Wonka rainbow drops. Suck them and you can spit it 7 different colors. And his thick jaw and talkative parents. And these mean jobs that will give the boy next door green tea for a month. On the grand opening day, I decided to allow all my customers to help themselves for free, and the place was so crowded from children you could hardly move. The television cameras and the newspaper reporters were all there. And the old Duke himself stood outside in the road with my friends the giraffe, the pelly, and the monkey, watching the marvelous scene. I came out the shop to join them for a few moments, and I brought each of them a bag of extra special twists as a present. To the Duke, because the weather is a little chilly, I gave some scarlet squirt droppers that had been sent to me from Iceland. The label said that they were guaranteed to make the person who sucked them as warm as toast, even if he were standing stark naked at the North Pole in mid-wind. The moment the Duke popped one into his mouth, thick smoke came gushing out of the old boy's nostrils in such quantities that I thought his mustaches were going up in flames. Terrific, he cried, hopping about. Random stuff. I'll take a case of them home with me. To the giraffe, I gave a bag of glumpies and glub gobblers. The glub gobbler is an especially delicious sweet that is made somewhere near Mecca. And the moment you bite into it, all the perfume juices of Arabia go squirting down your gullet one after the other. It's wonderful, cried the giraffe as a cascade of lovely liquid flavors poured all the way down her long, long throat. It's even better than my favorite pink and flower. To the pelican, I gave a big bag of peachlets. Peachlets, as you probably know, are bought by children who are able to whistle a tone as they walk along the street but long to do so. They had a splendid effect upon the pelican, for after he had put one of them into his beak and chewed it for a while, he suddenly started singing like a nightingale. This made him wildly excited because pelicans are not songbirds. No pelican had ever been known to whistle a tone before. To the monkey, I gave a bag of devil's drenchers, those small fiery black sweets that one is not allowed to sell to children under 4 years old. When you have sucked a devil drencher for a minute or so, you can set your breath all light and blow a huge column of fire 20 feet into the air. The Duke put a match to the monkey's breath and shouted, "Blow, monkey, blow." A sheet of orange flame shot as high as the roof of the grubber's house, and it was wonderful. "I've got to leave now," I said. "I must go and look after my customers in the shop." "We must go too," said the giraffe. We have 100 windows to clean before dark. I said goodbye to the Duke, and then one by one I said goodbye to the 3 best friends I had ever had. Suddenly we all became very quiet and melancholy, and the monkey looked as though he was about to cry as he sang me a little song of farewell. We have tears in your eyes as we wave your goodbyes. We so love being with you, you 3. So do please now and then come and see us again, the giraffe and the pelly and me. All you do is to look at a page in this book, because that's where we always will be. No book ever ends when it's full of your friends, the giraffe and the pelly and me.